Hello again, everybody. The next cars that you've selected to view, and notice I said cars, well, there's two of them, but you're only going to view one, but I'll tell you about both. Let me tell you what you're looking at. You're probably looking at these cars going, oh my God, what's wrong with the paint? Well, you may think that these cars need to be repainted, but no. This is part of the process that we do here in Northern Illinois Classic Auto Brokers and ClassicMusclecars.com. It's called wet sand and buff the car. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that process, but the right way, the best way, is to wet sand a car because that gets the finish smooth as silk, and if there's any dirt in the paint, it removes that. So a lot of times too, you'll get body work that shrinks up on cars because the chemicals underneath starts to dry out, and when that happens, you get what we call bullseyes. And you see body work under the paint. Well, that's because the chemical in the primer is starting to dry and move underneath the finish, and therefore you get what we call a bullseye, or you'll be able to see marks under the paint and sanding marks, so on and so forth. When people see this, they think, oh my God, you got to repaint the car. Somebody did a lousy paint job. Well, it happens to all cars, no matter how much you spend on paint. Because if it's done quickly, and it doesn't flash and it doesn't have time to set up and it's properly sanded out, and they shoot paint over it, then you're going to get that comes up. A lot of times it may happen 6 months or a year later on all base coat, clear coat paints. And what you have to do is go back and re-wet sand and buff the car. Now, not everybody can do this because it takes a special talent. It also takes some proper time to be able to do it also. When you wet sand and buff a car, you're basically taking off the top coat of paint, and you're going to sand through maybe 1, 2, or sometimes 3 coats of paint in order to get it down to where you can work it, to get it smooth, to get it flat, to get out the orange peel, to remove any sand scratches, remove any bullseyes, or any dirt that may be in the paint. Sometimes, too, when the car is sprayed in a spray booth, you're going to get a little water that's going to come through the air lines. It happens. No matter what you try to do in the booth to prepare to stop that from happening, sometimes it's going to happen. So any mistakes or flaws that happen, you try to wet sand and buff and get it out. So this is a process of some of the more highly detailed cars and paint quality. It's always done for base coat, clear coat. A lot of times people buff the cars and they won't wet sand and buff them or wet sand them. And they'll try to shoot it as smooth as possible to let it flow out, and then they'll just buff the car with compounds and they won't wet sand the car. To really get that true window finish, like looking at a window, that fresh, smooth, silky appearance.
10 foot deep.
10 foot deep, you have to wet sand and buff them. So what we've done here, we're behind on videos, and we decided we're going to show you this because we talk about a lot of different things, and we like to inform everybody and tell you how this all works so that you know, because education is important for everyone to know. But when you do get a car from us, we have taken this process and we've always done it to almost all the cars that we sell here at Northern Illinois Classic Auto Brokers and ClassicMusclecars.com. Now, this particular car I'm standing next to, this is a very rare car. This is a car that is being wet sanded, buffed right now, and that's the only thing that we need to do. It's detailed in the engine compartment. It's got new paint on the car. It's got excellent original interior in it. This is a very rare car. This is a Plymouth Super Coupe. Now, Super Coupe, Tony, what is that? It's a very rare car. 1978, and this is a 78. They made only 494 of these particular cars. Today, there's around 30 that is known to exist left that is registered. There might be more, or there might be 30 or so, and that's it. This one is the original color, and it's going to be tough when Jeremy comes around. He can show you a little bit. But some of the unique features on this car is that it has flat black half through the roof line here, and we've got this taped off because we're wet sanding this whole area. This is the factory striping that comes around in these cars. They had a lot of different multicolored stripes. The hood and the cowl panel up here, this is all flat black. When Jeremy shows you this, you'll see that it says 360 cubic inch. That's the way they put the 360 insignia. It didn't have a emblem that we're used to seeing. A lot of the cars from the 60s, they used tapes and graphics. They also gave this car kind of the NASCAR look around in all the wheel wells. It's got the fender flares on it. Jeremy will show you that. It's got a rear louver on the back window. Rear spoiler also. So it was a real cool looking car, and it also was one of the more higher performance cars that was available in the late 70s. There's not too much that you could get excited about for performance in the late 70s, but this car was still a performance car with the 360 engine in it. Now, it has an excellent body on this car. It wasn't a car that had to have a lot of patch panels or anything like that. It's just an excellent dry car. It's been maintained. It's been taken care of. This is a car that is a future, up-and-coming, huge collectible, because the 70s now are starting to become very collectible in certain years of cars. We didn't have a lot of things that were exciting in the 70s as far as American car production. They were making an attempt in the 70s with Firebird, the Trans Ams, for example, and with Chrysler in the late 70s to move back into some of the performance cars. This car was tied into the NASCAR cars, so that's why they came out and they produced the Super Coupe. This is an excellent investment car because this car is going to greatly rise in the years to come. So now is a time that you can get into a car at a very reasonable price, have an extremely rare car, guaranteed to go to a car show, it's going to draw a crowd. Guaranteed you go to a cruise-in, it's going to draw a crowd because you don't see these cars. Now keep in mind, today, there's only 30 or so that are known to be registered, and there's probably maybe a few more around here and there, but not all of the 30 that are registered are in the condition of this car. This is something you just don't see every day. It's an extremely rare car. It's an excellent future investment, and this car could double, triple, and quadruple in the years to come. No BS, just a fact. So I'm going to turn you over to Jeremy. He's going to give you a go around. If you want more information and photographs of this car, it's going to be done very shortly. Give us a call here at 847-526-5950, and now I'm going to turn you over to your buddy, Jeremy.
Well, this is the easy side, walking around the car. As you can see, quarters are quite close here right now. As being winter time, we have a lot of cars in a small space, and we have 6 rooms that are quite well packed with fine investment grade muscle cars such as these. In the meantime, let's take a look at the 360 Super Coupe. It's not exactly how it's going to be when it's all done, but right now, let's go for a little walk around. Those look like original factory louvers, and they're in excellent condition. The flare here, that's plastic, so that's in excellent condition as well, probably original too. And here's some of the compound that's used for the wet sand and buff on these cars. Now I'm going to squeeze down this little corridor here so you can get a look on the inside. Here's the detail on the roof, and that's the flat black portion. Looking inside the car, well, here, this tells it all. 78 Super Coupe, only $494 produced, etc. Looking inside the car, this looks like pretty much stock interior. I think this is the original interior. We have a nice set of 6x9s in the back deck. The headliner is looking quite good. And in here we have a, let's focus in there. Can I? Yes. ProTac. Anyway, on the dash here, you've got the clock. It's showing 74,620 on the odometer. Gas gauge, brake and oil light. It's got an ammeter and a temperature gauge. It's got factory AM/FM. It's got a remote mirror. And it looks pretty darn good. Let's get a look up front here. Quite close quarters here. Oh, our next door neighbor here, by the way, is a rather nice 67, I think it's a 67 Mustang GT. Anyway, back to this car. There's the 360 cubic inch that's lettered onto the flat black hood. The stripe package that went along with the Super Coupe. Looking quite nice. And it'll look fantastic. And remember, don't try this at home. You know, when this is all done, I'll tack a little more onto this video and show you the finished product. I'll get under the hood because I'm not even going to think about trying that in these close quarters. 1978 360 cubic inch Super Coupe.